Fives, the show of everything. Top Fives, presented by the Sex Effects. I'm Joey Parati.
And I'm Sean Day.
And folks, with us tonight, we have my dear cousin, Mickey Checky from the Three Friends podcast joining us live. And we're going to be getting into some really fun stuff. But before we get to all the fun, Jonathan, Mick, how are you guys?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good.
Doing good. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, no problem. I have to not look at Twitch because I'm getting confused by the lag.
Oh yeah,
Right?
It's so weird, right?
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's good. Like it's good you're monitoring it because like sometimes I'm like, is it working? Is it live? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
It's working.
always
It's
have
just
it
a
on
little
if-
bit behind.
Yeah. I like to talk to people in the chat if, Sean gets boring or something.
Oh man. Well, hey.
But
Yeah. How you doing, Mickey?
what's good? How's everyone's? Yeah.
Doing good. I'm glad to be back on the show. I haven't recorded a podcast in about a month because my show has been on a break. So it's good to get back in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
Well, your voice sounds as angelic as ever.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
We're blessed to be blessed with it. So thank you
it's
for coming
truly-
on.
Truly my pleasure.
Right
And
on.
I'm really excited to be talking about my favorite four guys.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
They're so fab.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah,
so fab.
absolutely.
Jonathan, how are you doing, man?
Just the usual, man. Just trying to get through this week. I recently went to the Hollywood Bowl to see this guy James Blake. He's a R&B artist and he's from England, which is kind of cool. But I don't know, Joe. You have to see a show at the so I already pitched this to you off the air, but Backstreet Boys are playing.
You did
in
say
June.
that,
Yeah.
and I did. I don't know, just two 33-year-old dudes going to see the Backstreet Boys just doesn't, something about that.
I've already got 3 other people who are interested, so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you would be alone. I think that's probably
Yeah.
like,
I'm going
everybody who's
purely
gonna
for
be
the
older.
I'm going purely for the nostalgia factor.
I mean, it is heavy nostalgia. They were my first concert ever.
And
I remember that, yeah.
I mean,
Aaron
that's the
Carter
thing
opened
too.
up.
I remember you telling me about your first concert, and I know I don't listen to. I mean, honestly, I don't listen to Backstreet Boys like on my daily listens these days. But
Yeah.
what's really
The first
cool
two
about,
albums are very good.
oh yeah, they got a lot
I
of
will
good
say that.
good songs in there. So I went to the show in the Hollywood Bowl, and that's why I mentioned this thing because it's really cool because they have the Hollywood Orchestra usually accompany the act that is playing that night.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really almost surreal, and there's no bad seat, I would say, at the Hollywood Bowl. You could be like, I was kind of in the nosebleed section, kind of the way back there on the benches, and it's so cool. You get to bring your own food, your own drinks. It's outside, like it's so nice. And then it sounds great, and of course they with the orchestra and everything. It's like a full orchestra, string section, harps, like pianos and stuff. So
Wow.
and then there's history with it, and funny enough, kind of connecting to our list tonight, the Beatles have played at the Hollywood Bowl, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So so that kind of was my like weekend, I guess.
Nice.
Seeing that group, and it was just kind of nice. I've only been to one concert, I believe, so far. Two concerts so far since this pandemic.
Yeah.
One of them was like an amphitheater kind of open space. The other one was actually a little small venue, which I slightly had a little bit of anxiety being in there, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is good. It is great to at least like see music, and you could tell from the people like at this Hollywood Bowl, like the people hosting it, they were just like stoked because they're like, man, we've had such a crazy year with this whole COVID thing, and it's great to be performing and playing in front of people and like bringing people the joy of music. So yeah.
That's cool. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
that is cool. I've got tickets to a few shows, but I think that they're all like about a year away. Like,
yeah, they're all kind of
schedule-wise.
postponed or like rescheduled,
Yeah, everything.
right?
So I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
I end up
Who are you
going to
most
any of them.
excited for?
Let's. It's a good question. I don't know. So I got tickets to They Might Be Giants, who are one of my favorite band. They were my favorite band when I was a little kid, like the Backstreet Boys. And they're going to be doing one of their albums in its entirety with like no opening act, and that sort of thing. And I've seen them do that kind of show before, and it's very good. So
Nice.
I'm excited to see that. And then I have tickets to the My Chemical Romance reunion, which I'm going to go to with my sister and my niece,
Yeah.
which is kind of exciting. And,
Was that the rescheduled one too? Because I remember they were touring like
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it never ended up happening. And so yeah, that'll be fun to go see that, because I really liked them back before my niece was even born, and now I'll be the old man at the show. And then the last one I have tickets to is the Killers and Johnny Marr.
Oh wow,
that'd be good.
Yeah, so I think that'll be just a fun
fun show. Yeah,
I've seen the Killers a couple times. They're really good. Like, they have a lot of singles, so their shows are pretty much just like greatest hits sets.
Yeah,
that's
like
kind of what
everything
you
is,
want.
on the radio. Yeah, everything from the radio, which is like, nobody listens to the radio anymore, not even me. But like they 10 years ago, all those songs were on the radio all the time. So yeah, they're really, really fun. And then it'll be cool to see Johnny Marr. And I know that they've played together before. Like, Johnny Marr has joined them for like Smith's covers, like at Glastonbury and stuff like that before.
That's
So
cool.
that's
it would
cool.
be, that I think will be cool to see. So I don't know, we'll see. Hopefully those happen. Yeah,
I gotta
That'll be
say,
a lot of fun.
I gotta say that's super cool. Preference for me now. I've been to 2 outdoor venue kind of shows.
yeah,
I prefer those more than. Although I do miss, like, the kind of, especially bands that are maybe not as big yet, and you're like
Sure.
crammed in a small room, and you get like that intimate show where you could go up to the front if you want to, and like scream at their faces if you wanted to.
definitely.
But as I
suck.
I freaking love your band. But yeah, I mean, as I get older, it's like I kind of prefer the reserve seats. I'm outside, and usually it sounds like, depending on kind of where you go, like for the most part, like the sound is pretty good.
Sure.
And then there's like stuff to do, like these amphitheaters. They have like food vendors and all sorts of stuff. What was great about the Hollywood Bowl is like you can bring your stuff, right? So it was actually like cheaper to like bring your own food, and like because venues, they usually overpriced or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what I've realized. I'm just down not to get like stressed out about like being at a show, and but I must admit, the show I went to at the Chain Reaction in Anaheim, it was this band called Hail the Sun, and it was like shoulder to shoulder kind of gig. There was a moment where I was like kind of reserved, and then when they went on, I was like, oh man, I kind of want to be like up close and see them, and and then of course, this is kind of a cool moment right now, is some bands have like released music during the pandemic, but they haven't toured it yet. So
sure.
You're kind of technically like the first people to hear like them play these songs on the road.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a cool thing that's been happening. In fact, I think the 2 shows I've been to, it's like the first show in the tour that these bands were doing. So I thought that was really cool. Like, we're like legitimately the first crowd they've played to in like 2 years.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? So it's like it is kind of
a special energy.
Special energy, yeah, for sure. And you can tell like the bands are, obviously it's the first day in the tour, but like they're definitely like, I would say, very energetic, and I may feel like grateful for just being able to be like, I can still play music in front of all these people, So yeah, I've come to like really appreciate music again, and like live shows again. But yeah, I still have my reservations, because it's like, I'm vaccinated, but like,
you don't know who else is.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a very weird thing. So actually, the Hollywood Bowl show that I went to, that was the first show I went to where I had to prove my vaccination. I had to have a card. They had people checking before you got into the metal detectors and the line and everything.
See, so that's standard practice out here, just to go to get a drink in San Francisco.
Yeah, and I think actually in Los Angeles they're going to be enforcing that come, I think, maybe another week or two.
Unless you're the mayor. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
It's been my favorite joke of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been kind of on my mind. Like lately, that's kind of like concerts and just trying to get like back into like stuff. But also like weirdly, it's still kind of this weird thing of like COVID.
Yeah.
So.
I'll feel a lot better because I have a 6-year-old, so I'll feel a lot better when she can get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Because man, nothing. I don't think anything in the world would make me feel worse than like carrying it and giving it to my daughter. Like that. Like, how could you live with that? So I'll feel a lot better when things get feeling more protected. It seems like like the Delta variant is still there, but it seems like it's getting better in California anyway. So hopefully soon, because I can't imagine, like, I just turned 38 and I'm feeling 48. So like I can't imagine I'll ever be in a mosh pit ever again. I'm not like your dad, Sean. I can't picture doing that. The last couple times it was like the next day I could barely walk. But like I do love being like just smashed in with everybody and stuff like that, and I miss that. But yeah, sitting on a lawn and watching a band sounds mighty good.
Yeah,
it really does. Hell yeah.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Excited for live music. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Someday soon.
Yeah.
Someday soon.
But speaking,
maybe, I was gonna say maybe we could see one of the people we're about to talk about.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I
at least one more time.
Hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty perfect when we got to see.
Yeah, you guys got real lucky.
Paul.
Oh, dude,
very lucky.
Actually, it's funny. On our like, how you get those like photo reminders. We just got those like recently, like the Paul McCartney show. That was, I don't know, man. That was something else, man.
Yeah.
I almost thought, I was like, there's no way like this is happening right now. Like, it was just such a surreal experience, and I honestly think, if he comes around touring again, we're gonna hop on those tickets for sure.
You got to.
Yeah. I want to see that McCartney 3 live. I did enjoy some of it.
Dude, you know what, dude? If McCartney plays like Hollywood Bowl, that would be freaking worth it, man. I mean,
I bet
it for me. It just feels like such an iconic like venue, and especially for like a Beatles, like, someone coming back. I'm sure he's played there before, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We saw him at Dodger Stadium when we saw McCartney, and it was cool.
He's big places for him.
Yeah, big spots.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Hollywood Bowl's as big as Dodger Stadium, but I just think it would be just such a cool place to see him.
Yeah, the last time I saw him was at not the Cow Palace. The Beatles did play the Cow Palace though, but the last time I saw him was at Candlestick, which it was the last show at Candlestick.
Oh, no way!
And
really?
and that was also where the last Beatles show was. So yeah, it was a nice little. I'm sure he probably doesn't give a shit, but it was it was a fun thing to be a part of.
Yo,
yeah,
okay.
Absolutely, that is very cool. I love that. Yeah, we can real quick before we jump into the Beatles. I just got to say, because you mentioned Sean's dad, I got to hang with both of your dads this weekend.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Went to a lovely dinner party at my parents' house and got to see both your dad and your dad, and it was good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
sounds fun.
Everyone was in rare form. It was a good time.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm jealous. I want to see everybody.
I know. I'm sad. I long for the day when all of us are all in the same room together again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah. So just sending good vibes, because it was a good vibe.
Taking them in.
Yeah. But anyway, dear listeners, as I'm sure you could have pieced together through context clues, we're going to be talking Beatles tonight. And we're going to kind of do 2 lists about covers. We don't know if we'll be able to get to both. Mick, since you're a guest, would you like to choose which list goes first?
Well, if there's a chance that we're not going to be able to do both, then I think that we should probably do covers by other people of Beatles songs, because there's a less of a chance that we're going to have the same things on our list.
Okay.
There's at least 2 things that I can think of covers by the Beatles that we're probably all going to have on our lists. So
that's very fair.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's no overlap in the other category, because there's so many Beatles covers.
There's a lot.
Yeah,
there is a ton. All right. Well, yes, I love that. Let's get to it. So, top 5 Beatles songs covered by other artists. And Mick, would you like to kick things off?
Sure. Yeah. Are we gonna just do plow through our list individually, or are we going to go around?
I say let's plow through, and that way we have a better chance of getting to both lists.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Right on.
Okay. So number 5 is it's kind of it's kind of a fun, it's a cheesy one. So it's Neil Diamond doing the Abbey Road medley. It's a 1980. It's from a 1989 live album.
Okay.
And it sounds exactly like what you think Neil Diamond doing the Abbey Road medley sounds like. It's really corny, and he's just like, he's selling it. You can imagine like old ladies crying. It's really fun. So then I'm going to go with number 4. I'm going to put "You Won't See Me" as the song.
Ooh, okay.
And the artist is Brian Ferry, who's best known as the lead singer of Roxy Music. He did a like a covers album, a solo album of cover songs in, I think it was like the mid 80s. And his version of the song, and that whole album is kind of a mix of glam and like show tunes and Blue-Eyed Soul, kind of all wrapped into one thing. And it's pretty straightforward considered all that of a cover of that song, but I really like that song a lot. And that finding that I like was one of those things where it's like I was a teenager and I just got a huge box of records that was like thrown away or something.
Yeah.
And I found that record in there, and it was like, yeah, it popped in on. It's like, oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So
awesome.
I really like that one a lot. And then at number 3, I'm going to go with Andre 3000's version of "All Together Now."
Yo,
And so
I've not heard this.
Yeah, it's from 2010. It was for a Nike commercial. I think it's like Kobe Bryant is playing basketball and like Andre 3000 song is playing in the background. And it's a pretty straightforward cover, but you know, there's not really that much of a difference between like "All Together Now" and "Hey Ya." If you think about it, like they are like tonally kind of similar songs. Mm-hmm. And so like he kills it, you know. It's like it's not, he didn't do anything too crazy with it. There's like a little bit, it's like modernized a little bit, but you know, it's just him doing his thing on a song that kind of fits him perfectly. It's like a faithful version of the song that is also a good Andre 3000 song.
Yeah. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm interested to hear this one now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to check it out. Yeah. And then number 2. So this one is this is like the most obscure thing I could possibly bring up. So there is a band that I really liked a lot called the DBs. And they got together in the late 70s, and like they had a couple albums in the late 70s, early 80s, and that was like the kind of their prime. They're from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and they're like a really good power pop band. One of the guys is like was a touring member of REM. Like they're like kind of in that world. And before they were the DBs, some of the members had a band in high school called Little Diesel. And so Little Diesel recorded an album, but they never put it out until 2006. So like the album was recorded in, I think, like 73 or something like that. So like decades later, this album came out.
That's cool.
And there is a cover on it of "Anytime at All" that is just like a really just like barn burning cool like proto punk version of this song. Now, unfortunately, you can't find it anywhere. I used to have the CD, and like you can find the CD occasionally on eBay or something like that, but like it's not on YouTube, it's not on Spotify, like it just like is not anywhere. So maybe it's not as good as I remember it being, I don't know. But I have very, very fond feelings about it, and also I just love that song, and I think that's kind of like an underrated song.
Yeah, it's a rockin' fucking tune.
Yeah, it's like it's like the birth of power pop kind of, that song.
Yeah.
But and then number 1 is one of my favorite bands, the Breeders. And on their debut album, they did a version of "Happiness is a Warm Gun" that is kind of like one of their signature songs. It's like kind of become one of the Breeders' signature songs. And it's another version of like just making it perfectly their own thing while still being like the song that it was originally. And it was Steve Albini produced that album, and he's the one who like suggested to them that they should give that song a try. And it's just a really, really cool, indie rock, song. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow,
those are my picks.
Those are great. I got to track down all of those.
Yeah.
Um,
They're all
right
worth
on.
listening to, and they're all on Spotify except for that little Diesel one, which is nowhere in the world.
Wow.
Do you ever fuck with Discogs?
Yeah. That you can find evidence that it exists on Discogs, but yeah,
you can't find.
you can't listen to it. Yeah. I wish I had taken better care of my CDs when I was younger.
Oh,
Because it surely got scratched up like a hockey puck.
yeah.
Even if you did take care of your CDs, I feel like they still taking them out of the case and everything. They always got something, and then if you still have a CD player, it probably ate it. We were talking not too long ago. The why am I blanking on their name? Death and Taxes were selling CDs at that show back in February 2020. That was the last CD I bought. And I put it in my car stereo, and the thing ate it, and it won't eject, but it also won't play it. So I've never gotten to listen to it in that form. But yeah, so that's never again.
Yeah.
Oh well. But that's a very good list.
Thank you,
Jonathan. I'm curious to hear what you've got.
Yeah, I've got all sorts of different ones. Some of them are kind of like I think I went a little safe on the cover side, but number 5 actually, this one is from that movie, the Across the Universe soundtrack. Evan Rachel Wood singing "If I Fell," which knowing the original Beatles song, it kind of has this it's a little bit faster in tempo, and in the context of the movie, and literally the character is falling in love with someone in the movie, Jude, the other character in the love interest. It's just a good moment, and it's just her singing. She's just like literally sitting by these docks, and she's kind of singing, and she's kind of like watching the character Jude. He's a painter in the movie, and I don't know, just like it works so well to kind of like bring, because with that movie, it's like pretty much they had the task of taking all these Beatles songs and trying to create like a story out of it. And I felt like it really connected those characters together, that song, especially for her falling in love with the character. And there was this moment where she's kind of, even with the song and kind of what it means, it's kind of this like almost like hesitance of like falling on someone. And, kind of, if I do fall in love, will this be a true thing or whatnot? So I think it worked really well for the context of the movie, but I don't know. I really liked Evan Rachel Wood in this movie because she just found a good way to find a way to make it her own and like kind of cover the song, kind of slow it down a little bit. So it's, it kind of feels a little more impactful and meaningful in the moment. So yeah, that's my number 5.
That's a good song.
If I Fail. Number 4, I got Yesterday, covered by Marvin Gaye, actually. Not the biggest fan of I love the Yesterday song, but I don't know, Marvin Gaye kind of doing the Yesterday, like his spin on it. It's definitely Marvin Gaye. Like it really, it's his, his style, his band, that kind of swag, I would say, with it. But that's what I like about these kind of covers. I always like covers that can take the original, keep some of the essence of what the original is, the original song, but also it's their imprint, it's their kind of version of it, their way of doing it. So, and Marvin Gaye is of course an incredible singer and artist and everything. And I just thought I really liked his rendition of Yesterday, especially the arrangement too of like the music. It's Yesterday's kind of more piano, and this is kind of, full band guitar and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was really cool. So yeah,
nice.
Yesterday. All right, here's my usual. This is a cover song. It's Michael Jackson, Come Together.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because I feel like growing up, I know my parents played a lot of Michael Jackson, and I bet you anything I probably heard Come Together by Michael Jackson first before I heard Come Together by the Beatles. So I guess I have sort of like a personal connection to it, like just hearing it like growing up, I guess. Putting Michael Jackson aside, just thinking of the artist.
Yeah.
You mean the art, not the artist.
Yeah, sorry, the art, not the artist. I don't know. I really liked his rendition of it, and especially for Michael Jackson, the way his how he puts like the power in his vocals and everything, and the way he kind of you know, I don't want to keep saying it makes it his own, but like it really is like, you know, he really found a way to make it unique to his singing style and his singing voice. It has a little more attitude. I don't know. It has like a little more to it.
Pretty rocking.
It's pretty rocking, right?
Yeah.
You know, especially from Michael Jackson. So, you know, that was kind of interesting. And then again, you know, going back and like listening to the original by the Beatles, it was really interesting to kind of juxtapose each of those songs together. And, you know, I've come to appreciate the Beatles song, of course, but like, I don't know. I don't know why, but I've always just kind of heard Come Together like as that Michael Jackson form. Or version. So
I think you might be too young for this, because I think I was like very, very young, but I believe that was like Pepsi's theme song for a while. Whoa. Was like I think it was that, and then also it's in his movie Moonwalker, which I used to watch all the time when I was a kid.
Yes.
So, like,
actually I think that's probably my connection is that movie, because I remember seeing the movie. I could totally see that as a Pepsi commercial too. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of a version of the song that, you know, I hear a lot, and, you know, I've heard some other versions of it, but I think that's the kind of one that usually comes to mind when I hear that song. So yeah, number 3, Come Together. Number 2, I've got Little Help from My Friends, the Joe Cocker cover from 1969, which I think he did perform at Woodstock. I believe. And Joe Cocker, I guess, repping my dad's hometown. He's from Sheffield. So
I didn't even know he was British.
Yeah, he's a Sheffield he's a Sheffield local. So I like his version. He kind of makes it more soulful. You know, he's I don't know if he takes his time with it. I don't know, it's just the pacing with it is a little bit different. And
Joe Cocker's behind it.
Yeah, there's a lot of feeling behind it. And I'm not saying anything with the Beatles version. You know, there's obviously, you know, they have their feelings and stuff, but with the way he sings it, I think the way he delivers it, it just has so much more impact on the crowd, especially when it, you know, Woodstock, you know, hearing that song and everything like that at that time.
But the Beatles version is almost like it's bordering on a novelty song. Yes. Because like he's playing a character in it. And it's like you know, much more like he's not putting his full emotion into that song. And I think I love that song. I really, really like I'll defend Ringo's voice till I die. I think that's a great song. But yeah, like Joe Cocker is clearly, like, it means more to Joe Cocker than it does to Ringo Starr.
And what's crazy is there's footage of like Woodstock of like him singing it, and, you know, I think he even starts it off like a cappella, like he's just kind of like singing the first few lines, and it's just, and then, you know, it's maybe it's I mean, I obviously didn't grow up in that time, but like I guess the nostalgia factor of, like, you know, the 60s, and, you know, kind of captured that time, and you know, especially with Woodstock, you know, being such a big, you know, thing for the 60s, and so maybe I kind of favor it a little bit more because it has that connection to the music festival, and maybe how it made people feel hearing that cover of the song, you know, right there and then.
I think that there is definitely a connection for our generation to the 50s and the 60s, because the people who were making the entertainment when we were kids were all grew up in the 50s and 60s and were making things about the 50s and the 60s. So, you know, like that's like, even this song in particular, it was like the theme song to the Wonder Years, which is like you know, a show about even it took place in the 60s, but it was about a kid who was like, you know, kind of closer to my age and stuff. So like, you know, like I could watch it and relate to it, and my parents could watch it and relate to it, and that sort of thing. And like, you know, anything Stephen King ever wrote, like all that, you know, like, so we were hit, like we got that baby boomer nostalgia stuff really, really flung at us hard.
Indoctrinated.
Like, we're doing it now to the next generation of children. We're throwing 90s stuff at little kids now all the time. So,
Can you believe Nevermind is 30 years old?
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
What? When?
Whoa.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
That's a blast from the past. Whoa.
Yeah.
I was yeah. It's all getting old. It's oldie stuff now.
That means I remember my dad bought that CD, and I think he had that playing in the car while we were kind of growing up. That's so crazy. That
sounds about right.
That means that CD is as old as I am, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyways, my last one.
Older.
Yeah, a little bit older. My last one is man, I listened to the song a few times, and it's Stevie Wonder, dude. We Can Work It Out.
Mm-hmm.
His cover, We Can Work It Out. You can't go wrong with Stevie Wonder, man. I mean, his way of interpreting the song, and obviously, he's such an amazing singer, piano player and keyboard player. He makes it fun and interesting. He's still a big musician today. A huge influence for a lot of people, I feel. So, to take on a Beatles song, I was like, oh man, I wonder how this is gonna sound. I've heard it a few times, and when I keep listening back to it, it still makes me like, I really like his version of it. And you can't go wrong with Stevie Wonder. I mean, he's still, has such a great, he's a great musician. He has such a great songwriting background. Was able to push the envelope as far as sound and trying, kind of embracing, synthesis and synthesizers and, different types of instruments and stuff in his music. So it just worked perfectly for it, kind of weirdly enough what the Beatles were at the time, like trying different things and like, in the studio. And, I think that's what I find so unique about Stevie Wonder too, and the kind of parallel them together with the Beatles is, he was very open to, new types of musical influences or instruments or whatever you want to put. Yes. So, I think that's probably why I gravitate towards that. And I just love Stevie Wonder's music. So it's, of course, if he does a Beatles song, it's going to sound good.
Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what do you think about the rumor that he's not blind?
Well, he did wave at Uncle Pat. So, there's evidence. There's evidence here.
There's evidence there.
Yeah. Some people really think that. Like, there's a lot of people who think that, like, I think that the story is that, like, because he started very young. He was like a teenager when he started. And I think the idea was that they were like, you're not cute enough, so we got to give you a thing.
He's very cute.
I see.
Yeah.
It's where the movie gets its mojo, baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a funny thing to think about. There's some people who are so. I mean, he does crazy things. He drives around and stuff. So.
Wait, he drives?
What?
Not on the road, but there's like he loves being behind the wheel.
What?
And people like just let him because he's Stevie Wonder. So
I mean, yeah. Like James Corden needs a tow truck, but you get to freewheel it.
Yeah. Oh my God,
that's funny. Man, the last time Paul McCartney and John Lennon were ever in a recording studio together post Beatles, Stevie Wonder was there. There was a bunch of musicians, but I know Stevie's one of them. And there's this like tape that I've seen it before. I haven't bought it, but I think I saw it on Discogs and Wikipedia. It's called like A Toot and a Snore in 74.
Oh, it's a disaster.
That's what I hear. I don't want to listen to it just because, but I guess
they're not trying.
They're just fucking around. Yeah. And everyone's high out of their minds. And I guess at one point you can hear Lennon be like, Stevie, you want to? And and I'm just thinking like, like, if I were blind, would I know how to do that? Would I know how, like, not that I've ever done cocaine, but like, especially if you're blind, that's a significant handicap to any type of drug taking other than like, I don't know, pills.
I think you figure things out. I mean, I
suppose
think
you do.
Blind people can be very functional. I think that
like Matt Murdock and
I mean, honestly, if I found out Stevie Wonder was not blind, I don't know. He's a killer musician, man. I
could forgive him.
I would forgive.
He play everything. He's one of those guys. He plays like every instrument.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Like he would. How crazy would that be if he's just like, I'm in my 80s. Like, what do I care anymore?
Yeah. Like, deathbed, guess what?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a big reveal.
Man.
All right, Joey.
Stevie.
What is
All
what is
right.
your top 5, dude?
Okay, I'm gonna.
We got a whole
Funnily enough,
different list of covers here, so.
Mick and I have the same number 5, but different artist.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So number 5, it's "You Never Give Me Your Money" / The End. Tenacious D just put this out last month, and it was really good. Like, you forget how good of musician Kyle Gass is and how great of a singer Jack Black can be.
Sure.
And you know, it's funny because they're wearing wigs and they play up like the 70s look and everything, but they do a very loving tribute to
I don't doubt that at all.
it's very good. But yeah, so that one, number 5.
Wow,
with
I've
Bullet.
not heard that yet.
No,
It's
I didn't even know
yeah.
about that. That
Yeah.
yeah, I'll have to look
I
into
saw it like on Instagram like a month ago. I was like, oh shit, they just put it out. Yeah. Number 4, Amy Winehouse, "All My Loving."
I didn't know that existed either.
Ooh.
She does a very Amy Winehouse version of "All My Loving," and it's beautiful. And it, you know,
Okay.
it doesn't really, you know, it takes a couple lines before in your mind it starts to take form and you recognize what it is and you go, oh yes. And it's awesome. She has an incredible voice, and yeah, it's very good. It's very good. My top 3 I feel like are my safe choices. Number 3 is "Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band" by the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Sure.
Oh, I have heard this one. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was just days after Sgt. Pepper dropped, and Hendrix learned it and performed it like the following night. And the Beatles were, at least John and Paul were in attendance for it.
Yeah, I think
so
Eric
just doing
Clapton
our
was there.
song.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So just very, like, could you imagine like the rock and roll historic moment of being there, and like kind of very cool. It's just very cool. Number 2, "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds," Elton John.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. I remember that one. Yeah.
And I have a 10-inch of it, and like a him doing it live, and I guess Lennon comes out and plays it with him, and it's very cool.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't that John Lennon's last show? Like, wasn't the last show he ever played opening for Elton John?
Was it really? I don't
think
know.
that it might have been. I might be wrong about that, but I think that is.
I mean, that checks out. Yeah, because he was producing them, and yeah. Nice, right on. And then, Shawnee, you've already named it, but "With a Little Help from My Friends," Joe Cocker. I mean, like, you know, you already mentioned growing up with the Wonder Years, and you know, I probably heard that before I heard any Beatles music. And usually I don't care for a Beatles cover, because it's like, if I want to listen to the Beatles, I want to listen to the Beatles playing.
Sure,
Yeah,
of course.
Beatles music.
Yeah.
But this is the only exception where it's like, inject that shit into my veins. It's so fucking soulful and good, and there's so much power behind it. And you know, I think how you said Ringo is kind of doing a voice, or it's more of a novelty, and it feels so restrained on Sgt. Pepper's, you know, where Joe Cocker is giving it his all, and you hear like the sweat dripping off his head while he's like just belting it, and it's so good. Yeah, that's my number 1.
Now, I'm happy with my list, and I don't want to change it. But there is a song that I thought about that I chose not to include, because I thought for sure, Joey, that you would include it on yours.
Which one?
Johnny Cash, "In My Life."
Oh my God, you're right. Holy shit. I would probably take out either Amy Winehouse or Tenacious D in that case. Man, that's a really good call. That is, I always forget that Cash covered the Beatles.
Yeah.
And that was on The Man Comes Around, his last record while he was alive. And I believe it was also Sonny and Amanda's first dance at their wedding.
Was it? I don't know if I don't remember that. Yeah.
I believe so.
I mean, it's a great cover. I prefer the original, because that's just maybe the best song of all time. But
so good.
His version is great, and you know, like, he was doing so many really great covers in just towards the end of his life. But yeah, that is a great song, and
yeah, and you know, with all of his, you know, and that's one where I think I may have heard that version before I heard the Beatles version.
Oh, okay.
And to hear Cash's age and everything that he brings to it, and then to go back and listen to Lennon sing it while he's a young man in his 20s is kind of jarring, you know. And it's it almost feels more appropriate for Cash to sing at the end of his life.
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of things that like you like kind of you don't think about when you're a kid, and then you look back and it's like, what is this fucking 22-year-old talking about? You know, like it's like how are they so profound? Like they're knuckleheads. You know,
the one that really strikes me in that regard is off Sergeant Pepper. Is Leaving Home. You know, and it's from the point of view of the parents waking up, we script and saved, you know, to give her a good life, and she just threw it. It's like, you're 24, 25 years old. How are you cognizant enough to, you don't even have kids of your own. Like, how do you know? I don't know. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. But fantastic lists all around.
Yeah.
Yes.
Only one overlap in all 15 songs.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Pretty good.
Not bad.
I thought we were going to have more, honestly. I'm glad we did not.
Yeah.
Mick, would you like to kick off songs the Beatles covered?
Sure.
I think we got enough. Yeah, we're only at 40 minutes. We're good. Sean, you good? Right on.
All right. So I am going to, for number 5, I'm going to go with Till There Was You, which is from The Music Man. It's, you know, it's a show tune, but it is somehow kind of like the most Paul McCartney song that Paul McCartney didn't write. It's really dorky, but it's also like, it's faster than you remember it being, which is something that I always love. That's like a quality I love in a song, when I remember a song being slow and then I listen to it and it's like, oh yeah, this is fast. But it's just a good dorky Paul song that, like, I don't want to listen to the version from The Music Man. This is a song that has been covered 1,000 times. I only ever want to hear the Beatles version. I don't want to hear anybody else sing it, because it's like such a stupid dorky song. But you know, he does such a great job with it. And then at number 4, I am going to go with Words of Love, which is a Buddy Holly cover.
Hey, okay.
I am a huge Buddy Holly fan, and I think that there is so much of the Beatles came from Buddy Holly. And you know, he was, unfortunately, he was 22 when he passed away, so he didn't have time to do what the Beatles did. But I think he would have done so much more. And I think of the Beatles kind of as grabbing the baton from him a bit. So I really, really love their covers of his stuff. Like I think they also did That'll Be the Day. But their version of Words of Love is really, really great. I think that's one of those things where both John and Paul are singing lead the entire time, and it's just like a really fun, buzzy song. You know, it's interestingly produced. It's just a cool song, and I think they did a good job with it. And then at number 3, I'm going to go. So I'm Twist and Shout. I'll go with Twist and Shout at number 3. You know, a lot has been made that it probably has, like, maybe the greatest vocal in rock and roll history, which is true. Like, John is singing the hell out of it, and it's like one of those things where his voice was thrashed because they recorded that entire album in a day,
12 hours.
It was like the last thing that they did on that album, and you know, it wouldn't have sounded the way that it does if they had been living a reasonable life. But you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, happy that he abused his voice that day, because it turns out so good. And so just like, you know, a really great rock and roll standard. The number 2, I'm going to go with Act Naturally, because it is sort of like the perfect Ringo song. Like, it plays up on this idea of like Ringo, the way that Ringo's presented is as like a sad, funny guy. You know, like that's how he is in the movies, and that's how he presents himself when he speaks and stuff like that. And that this song wasn't written for him is pretty amazing, because it sounds like something that Paul would write for Ringo to sing. And it's just like, you know, it's such a fun little country song about like, I'm going to be a movie star because I'm so sad and I can play a sad guy really well. You know, like, and it's like, and like I was talking about earlier, I really like his voice. I think that people are way too harsh on him. You know, he's still a Beatle, even if you want to make the argument that he is the worst Beatle, he is still a Beatle. And I wouldn't even call him the worst Beatle personally, but I love the guy. But I think that song's really fun. And then at number 1, I thought about being cute with my list and making a list of entirely Chuck Berry covers, because you could do it easily.
You could do it easily.
They did tons of Chuck Berry songs. But I decided just to keep it to one, and I'm going with Rock and Roll Music, because I just think that is just the coolest song. I love that song. I love Chuck Berry's version, and I love the Beatles version. Another song that John sings the hell out of, and it's just such a fun, cool song. About how you don't have time for any other bullshit music, only rock and roll.
Hey.
That is a wonderful list.
Thank you.
I love all those songs.
I was like, there's got to be a Chuck Berry song on there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I was like looking through the list of covers. I was like, God, there's so many Chuck Berry songs that they covered for like a while, man. So that's Mike Day's chiming in the chat. He says, "Listen to the lyrics of your 16." I think you might mean the Chuck Berry song "Sweet Little 16." Oh, Sweet Little 16.
Chuck Berry's a creep. He was a creep. There's
yeah.
I'm sure you've all read about what he used to, put in his bathrooms and his restaurants, and not an upstanding citizen.
No, he's a terrible creep. And wasn't even a secret about it. He wrote songs about it.
Yeah.
Chuck Berry was also one of those guys who, I don't think he got famous till he was 40 or something like that.
Really?
Oh, the Ringo. Oh, Mike says it's a Ringo song. I don't know. I don't know if I know that.
Okay.
Ooh. Oh, I think I actually do know what you're talking about, Mike. Yeah. Yeah.
You're 16, Ringo Starr.
Not great.
You come on like a dream, peaches and cream, like lips like strawberry wine. You're 16. You're beautiful.
In your mind, right? Yeah.
Yikes.
Ooh, boy.
Yikes.
And Ringo was not young when he wrote.
No. Yeah. There's a really weird trend in early rock and roll of calling girls, we still baby, but child. There's a lot of little child, come and dance with me. And it's not just the Beatles, it's everyone used to.
It's everyone.
That.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it's it was an exploitive genre. It was a genre that was made specifically. It was let's cash in on these kids, because it was right around the first, kids were considered a viable audience for the first time. So it was you had a bunch of guys who were they didn't care about what they were writing. They were just here's dumb shit for you to listen to at the sock hop.
Honestly.
And then some of them were young guys, it's she was just 17, you know what I mean? Well, it's he was 19 or something like that when you wrote that. So
it's not as creepy, but then he's 80 singing.
Now he's 80.
It's still an awesome song. But yeah. Shit. Well, that's a very, very good list. Shawnee, would you like to go next? Would you like me to go next?
Joe, you go next.
I'm going to go next.
We'll switch it off.
Okay. I'm going to kick off number 5 with the Marvelettes, Please Mr. Postman.
Oh, yeah.
Really great. I love going through all their covers. They capture that 50s rock and roll and girl groups too. You know what I mean? They didn't discriminate who they covered, or, I'm not covering a girl or anything like that. It was great. And kind of funny, last year, Alicia and I were on a road trip back from Oregon, and I was driving, so I was throwing on the Beatles, and this song came on. She's like, "Wait, that's a song?" I was like, "What? You've never heard this song?" She's like, "No, I've heard it, but it was on a TikTok or a Vine or something." And a young kid is going, "Wait, yeah, Mr. Postman." And then the camera pans, and there's a weird homeless guy going, "Hey," and that was her entire frame of reference for this song. And she's like, "Holy shit, this is an actual tune." And I was like, "Yeah." But so I've always loved that song, but now I have that little anecdote that always kind of makes me smile whenever I hear it. Now I'm just like, that's funny. Number 4, The Miracles, You Really Got a Hold on Me. I think this is one of their most beautiful early ballads. They recapture all the soul that song has originally, but it's the Beatles, so it's great. Whatchamacallit, the album Beatles for Sale, which I feel like never gets talked about ever. Yeah. Because it's mostly a covers album, even though the originals that are on there, I think 8 Days a Week is on there, and there's a few that are oh shit. No Reply. But Mr. Moonlight, for some reason, gets me. It's got Mr. Moonlight. And it's it, man, you know, like I don't know what it is about that, but I'm just like, I love it. I love it very much.
So that's another really dorky song.
It's very dorky, but I like it so much. Yeah. And yeah, what's the chorus? You missed him. I don't know. They're thanking Mr. Moonlight for like helping them get girls, or maybe the other way around. I forget.
Yeah,
but,
I don't even remember the last time I listened to that song all the way through. Usually, it's just like you hit the beginning. It's like okay.
See that beginning, and I'm like, I'm here for this. I'm ready for the rest. I had Till There Was You at number 2, but I'm going to strike that, and I'm going to go with Devil in His Heart. He's got the devil in his heart. I don't know why. It's another one that Mr. Moonlight, where it kind of just hits that perfect, like, is this the 50s? Oh no, it's the 60s because it's the Beatles, and like, I don't know. Yeah, they capture that spirit so well. Because I mean, you know, I think especially us, kind of, you know, we're all big Ramones fans, and I think we all kind of have that original rock and roll in our DNA somewhere. We just love that kind of fast, simple. Yeah. And they always really kind of were able to tune into that, even at their most complex. Definitely. And then number 1, you already mentioned it, but I have to, Twist and Shout. You know, it's just like you were saying, it may be the best rock and roll vocals ever recorded. And apparently Lennon had like the flu or something as well, and like just took his shirt off and like just started belting it out. Yeah, it was rough day. Yeah, I mean, who knows, there's a lot of mythology around that, you know, of course. But it's still just so good, and I think, you know, you usually hear their version of it when you hear it on the radio now, and it's one of those songs that, I mean, you'll know the song before you know of the Beatles, you know what I mean? Like, I think you'll be a fan of like, oh yeah, Twist and Shout, blah, blah, blah. But then if you get into the Beatles, you go, wait a minute, no, oh shit, this is them. You know, there's so many songs like that with the Beatles where you go, I didn't know they did that. They did that song, yeah. Oh Darling was one of those for me, where I was just like, wait, this is the Beatles? What? But yeah, I don't know. It's timeless. It kind of transcends whatever decade you're living in or whatever. It's just a good, solid rock and roll tune.
Did you guys grow up with the Beatles the same? Like so, your parents might be younger than my parents enough that you maybe didn't grow up with them as the same way I did.
So thankfully, my mom had your dad as her brother, her older brother, and got a lot of like Beatles and Bob Dylan and that kind of thing. My dad was like, yeah. But the release that came out when we were kids was Beatles 1. Yeah. And that was 2000, I think. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. Nan got me that, I think, for Matt's birthday. And you know, that really kicked off. So like in my mind, Day Tripper follows Yesterday, because that was the track order on that CD. Okay. So yeah. But that, I mean, I knew the Beatles, I liked the Beatles or whatever, but that is where I kind of really got introduced to them, was that Beatles 1. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I feel like there's like a big chunk of my early life where like, I think that was like the only music I heard. It felt like was the Beatles.
That's a beautiful thing to have, especially early on, honestly. Yeah. Like, that was my thing once I got to like my late 20s, early 30s, like only Beatles now.
Exactly. Yeah. You do that to yourself later. What about you, Sean?
I guess it kind of trickled in, because I, you know, knowing my dad, I'm sure he's probably still in the chat. You know, it was, you know, a lot of, you know, kind of punk music. Although funny enough, mentioning like Nirvana and like those bands, like my dad was playing those bands when those CDs came out for me. You know, like he was playing them and exposing me to those.
He just said Revolver.
Yeah, and Revolver too. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like it definitely trickled in, you know, mostly, you know, it was kind of like, you know, a lot of kind of British bands like The Clash and like those, you know, those kind of groups. And then weirdly enough, the earliest memories, you know, weirdly enough, is like Michael Jackson and like, you know, those kind of groups. But it's always been very diverse and you know, varied as far as music that I'm exposed to growing up. Yeah. So, you know, I think eventually, you know, the Beatles would kind of come into the fold. as I was growing up. So, but I honestly think though I come to appreciate their music a lot more as I got older, and kind of Joey can say this too. It's like you're collecting the records, you've been even kind of diving more into like the band itself and kind of like who they were, and you kind of come to appreciate it a little bit more, I guess, as you get older.
I think there's like that element of like, I think that Gen X had it, and then the millennials have it, where it's kind of like you grew up with this in the background and it always existed, and it was just always there, but then one day you realize it's like, oh no, this is like really good.
Yeah,
like it's like it's not just like the Beatles, like it's and then
kind of like off of Joey, like hearing some of the songs and then not really realizing they were the Beatles, like the Beatles wrote and sang those songs, so like you kind of connect some of the dots a little bit. I mean, I don't know how different I would be if I was listening to them earlier, but I mean there's such a huge influence for a lot of musicians and groups these days.
Sure.
And still are. So it's, I feel like they would, I would say I'd still probably be doing like music and stuff, if I was exposed to like the Beatles a little bit earlier. But I don't know. I feel like lucky and happy to like know their music, to be able to listen to their music, and
definitely.
And now they're they've been doing like the remasters, for their albums and stuff, and then obviously having them stream, you could stream most of their albums right now, which is really cool. I'm still trying to collect the vinyls. I think Joey's way ahead of me on that one. So
I've got them all, but now I want them all in mono. That's my next.
Oh, that's your next.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've only got like a select some in mono.
Yeah. Okay. Oh damn. All right.
But it's like a cliche to say things like this at this point, because every time a musician of a certain caliber passes away, there's always the idea that like, oh, how cool is it, how lucky we are that we were on the planet at the same time as them. And I think that like that's like it's true all the time, but I think like with Paul McCartney specifically, it's like Paul McCartney is Beethoven. He is like he's not just a rock and roll singer. This is somebody that we're going to be talking about for hundreds of years probably. And so like, having the opportunity to watch Paul McCartney play an instrument in person is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I like, we both were brought to tears, honestly.
It was crazy.
I wept during Hey Jude. I wept during Carry That Weight. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And he was
McCartney.
And he was jamming. He was like playing. He like I think we talked about this before, Joey. Like I think we were like saying like, oh, he's he's a little bit older now. Like,
I wasn't expecting much. I really was not expecting
his
much.
Backing band, might be able to kind of help him out a little bit. But
they definitely do,
dude.
He's gotten slower every time I've seen him. He's not bad, of course, by any means, but like every time I see him, I do notice a little bit. It's like, oh, the songs are a little bit slower every time.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen him?
I've seen him 3 times.
3 times.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, cool.
That's awesome.
Man.
I just wanted him to play something off of Ram, and he didn't, but I shouldn't have expected that either. So,
you get the greatest hits of Paul McCartney, like maybe 1 or 2 of his like brand new songs, and then it's just like a Beatles show. Like he does a good job of making you like when you leave, you feel like you just saw the Beatles, which is of course not true, but like he
we got pretty close. We got halfway there.
The closest you possibly can get.
Possibly could, man.
Yeah. I don't understand why they don't do that
every time. Huh?
It would make so much money. It like
so much fucking money.
Yeah. He doesn't even have to be like the sole drummer. Like he could just like drum on like part of the show. The other drummer can be there too. Drum, you know what I mean? Like, because I've seen Ringo before too. Like I saw Ringo probably 30 years ago. No, more than probably about 25 years ago. And there's another drummer on stage playing while he plays, so it's like, that's not even, like they could do that. But like, imagine if you could advertise like Ringo and Paul together, like you could sing A Little Help From My Friends or Yellow Submarine or whatever, like that would be like, Paul doesn't need it, I guess, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, neither of them probably do, because I've seen him be asked that very question. Ringo's like, I've got my all-star band.
Yeah.
And but who knows how much ego is still there. Definitely for Paul.
Well, Paul is like the most egotistical person ever. Yeah. But yeah, there's got to be, yeah, maybe they don't really probably just don't like being around each other that much. But yeah, there is I don't know. Can you imagine being so rich that you didn't like want like you could like not make all the money in the world? You'd be like, you could turn something like that down, just be like, no, like,
Yeah,
I don't need to do
good.
that. Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Paul McCartney's a billionaire at this point, and he's still touring at 79 years old.
Yeah, he's
like,
got to
"It's
like
my
what he's
job.
doing.
It's
Yeah.
my job."
He was at the bus stop the other day. I saw somebody took a picture of him at a bus stop.
Man, I love that shit.
Cool. Normal life shit.
I like to be ordinary.
Like to be ordinary.
Yeah, Jonathan, let's hear your covers, sir.
Well, it's no surprise. My number one's Twist and Shout. So
Okay, yeah.
I think for all the reasons you guys mentioned, I mean, I hear it all the time on the radio. The thing we've commented the most is the vocal and the recording and how it translated so well to the song and how it, I don't know, how it kind of adds to the energy of the song and just how when you listen to it, you literally want to get up and start dancing and like twisting and shout. So yeah, I mean that's probably why it's my number one, because it's the one I really connect with as far as the Beatles and covers. And I've heard it at weddings, I've heard it in so many different like
at
situations
funerals
and occasions. Funeral, not a funeral, but yeah, and yeah, it's yeah, it still takes me back, I still feel taken back by it when I hear it. So, but yeah, that's my number one. Number five, I've got. I actually did not know they covered the song until I listened to it a few times, but it's "Money." That's what I want. Barrett Strong, written by Barrett Strong. Performed by the Beatles. I like this version. It's I've heard so many different versions of this song in particular. I do like this version. It has the Beatle. It has the. I mean, that's why it's my number five. It has the usual Beatle arrangement, I would say. From it.
Yeah.
They don't do anything. They don't stay too safe, but they don't do anything too out there on the song. I feel like it's a good song for them.
Good John vocal,
and yeah, good John vocal as well. I do like the vocals on this song in particular. And yeah, I think maybe I didn't know too much about it, this cover of the song, because I've heard just like kind of the other versions. I always think of like the Wedding Singer. There's like that 80s version of it, and it
Flying Lizards or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's the band. Yeah. And then there's another band that I can think of. I've heard a few of them, and I like how the
thought
Beatles
Madonna did a version of it. Did
she? Might have.
She might have. Yeah.
This is one of those songs that like there's like a billion versions of that song.
Yeah, there's just so many
standard
covers. Yeah. Of it. But I think the Beatles one stands out to me. I just like it because it's the traditional arrangement of the Beatles, and again the vocals and everything. So yeah, Money. That's what I want. Number four, I got Dizzy Miss Lizzy off of Help, originally done by Larry Williams. I don't know, kind of like I always love the Beatles kind of early stuff, especially the kind of rock, the kind of rock and roll, and it has that kind of feel to it. Yeah, I don't know. I always feel like it's a quintessential like Beatles sound, like especially kind of their earlier records. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say about the song. I just really like how they performed it, and it's a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of. I also really like the Help, like a lot of stuff off of Help, I guess, and
really good.
It
record.
Goes really well, I guess, with the other songs. It accompanies really well with some of the other songs on the album. So, number four, Dizzy Miss Lizzy. Let's see here. This one was actually one that surprised me. This was like a recent discovery for me. I did not know, and this is actually on my number three. That's All Right Now, Mama by Elvis Presley. I did not know they covered, and you would think like, of course they would cover like Elvis Presley, because that's like kind of the, they're in that lane of like that kind of music and that rock and roll and bringing that kind of music to the masses. So of course, cover Elvis Presley.
Is that from the
Loved
BBC
Elvis.
record?
It is. So I have.
Okay, yeah.
I actually have two from the. Actually, this one and my number 2 are from the live at the BBC. So of course, Elvis Presley, covering Elvis Presley. They definitely can capture the soundscape and vibe, kind of reminiscent of Elvis Presley, but of course, with the Beatles taste and swing to it, I would say. And then my number 2 is Johnny B. Good, which is my Chuck Berry cover. I have a soft spot for Johnny B. Good because I freaking love Back to the Future, and
Sure.
I don't think I really heard this cover until recently. But I knew the Beatles did a version of this song, and I had to kind of listen to it a few times. But it kind of grew on me, and I do like it. I do like the version. It is a little more. It is still pretty close to I would say, the arrangement of like the Chuck Berry, version of it. But I think that's what they do really well, even though they kind of stick to kind of the same. They don't do too much out of the song. I feel like they're just such a good band that they can really make it their own, even though the sounds and some of the stuff is very similar and familiar. And I want to take more a look at that live at the BBC record, because there's a lot of good songs and cover songs on that as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my list. Yeah, I'm really digging the live at the BBC, and I didn't realize that has, they played a bunch of covers on the album. So yeah, there we go.
On the album.
Yeah.
The LP. Right on. Fuck. It's always such a dream to talk about Beatles, honestly.
I know.
Especially with you, Mickey. I feel like
thank you.
Yeah.
This is our usual Beatles talk right here, man. So,
yeah. Thank you for having me. It's I always want to talk about the Beatles.
Right. Part of me is like, is it because like you watch footage of them when they're so young and like first coming to America, and they're polite, but they're also shitty towards the reporters, and like they're playing with them a little bit. They're so smart, and they just seem so in love with the world around them, and the world around them seems so in love with them. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, man, to be those 4 best friends traveling the world, playing music, running around, like it's just like that's the ultimate like dude dream, I think. I don't know.
It's just such a strange, it's like there's certain bands where if like, of course every band is like, every member of every band is important, of course, but there are some where it's like clearly it's one person's vision, and so it's really interesting to have, it's like how, like what had to happen cosmically to have all 4 of these people in the same place at the same time. It's just very, very interesting to have like 2 of the best pop songwriters growing up, a couple blocks from each other. Like it's just strange that it happened. And I think we're all the better for it.
Honestly,
yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that so much.
Mm-hmm. Because they're such like they're so like the music's great, but also they're just great personalities. They're fun. Like that has so much to do with it. It's like they're fun to talk about. They're funny guys. All 4 of them are really funny guys. Like genuinely, like could be comedians probably. And then it's like fun to listen to them talk, and it's also fun to like make fun of them and joke about them and stuff like that. It's just like every aspect of the Beatles is so entertaining.
Yeah, I when I was first getting into like the music kind of heavily, I saw the Ron Howard documentary. 8 Days a Week.
Yeah,
and I hadn't really seen the young side of them before, where like they get into America, and this guy goes up to John after a show, goes, "And which one are you?" And he goes, "Eric."
It's the funniest thing.
I was like, at that moment, I was like, oh, this is the 1960s version of like Blink-182, basically. You know what I mean? Like they were like, not that, but that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it had that energy, it had that kind of fuck authority, but at the same time we're just kind of winking at it. You know what I mean? Like
sure. And especially like really early on, there was such a like everybody was so condescending towards them. Like any adult that you see speak to them is just like, you little shits, who do you think
Right.
you are? You know, and so like there
Nice
is
hair.
like a you know, it's like he's being funny and he's joking around, but he's also like saying like, do your job. You know, it's a less acidic version of what Bob Dylan was doing, but it's, you know, still the same basic thing.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. I love that Dylan press conference. I think he's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you consider yourself more of a singer or a songwriter? I'm a song and dance man. And no one gets it. And they go, could you say that again? And like, you just see him totally deflated.
Yeah.
A song and dance man. Fuck.
Dance man. Oh god.
Hell yeah. Well, this was great. Is there anything, Mick, that you would like to share with our dear, sweet, lovely imaginary audience before we wrap things up?
Sure. Is plugs or is it share time?
Share or both. How about both?
Okay. Okay, I'll do a quick share time. So there, like anybody who's watching on the stream right now can tell that I'm a big home video enthusiast. Behind me. So there is a boutique Blu-ray label that I really, really like a lot called Gold Ninja Video. It's run by this one guy named Justin DeClue out of Toronto. And so he does this all entirely himself. Everything he puts out is either public domain or micro budget indie things where he's working directly with the filmmakers. And so most of the movies he puts out you can see on YouTube, but the thing is he does all the special features. So he has a podcast, and so like a lot of the time he and his co-host will record commentaries. They're incredibly knowledgeable, but also like friendly and approachable. And so they do that. They like put together video essays. They do all sorts of really great things. So in a way, it's almost like the most creative podcast merch you can possibly imagine.
Hey.
So they just did a set called Jackie Exploitation, which is it's a 3-disc set, and it is made up of here it is right here. And it's made up of movies that were made in the wake of Jackie Chan becoming famous for Drunken Master. So
cool.
some of them, like I watched one called The Master. There's like 10 or 15 movies on this or something like that. I watched one called The Master with Cracked Fingers, which is they like took an older Jackie Chan movie that he made when he was like 17 or 18, and they kind of like put new footage around it and like built some new thing to put out. There's another one which I think is called Jackie Chan's 36 Crazy Fists that Jackie Chan is not in. He is in the beginning. I guess he did choreograph some of the action or something like that. So they have like behind the scenes footage that they put in the beginning of the movie to be like, here he is, it's Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And then there's some of them where they got guys who look like him, but you know, aren't him, and like their name like Jackie Chun or something, you know, like something like that, or like Jackie is spelt differently or like that kind of thing. Yeah. So this, like, these movies are like, they're entertaining and stuff, but you don't necessarily want them because they're great movies, but because they're like an interesting corner of film history that no one is really picking up that rock and looking under. Yeah. And they do this kind of stuff all the time. Like they put out discs, I think they do 1 or 2 discs a month, and just like really, really interesting stuff like this. And, you know, it's like a history lesson in a box, the same way Criterion is, but it's stuff that Criterion would never touch. So, it, you know, a lot of exploitation, a lot of kung fu, a lot of like poverty row noir, like it's just a really, really cool independent label, you know, DIY, like very, very independent. One guy is putting these together and mailing them out himself. So yeah,
that's
Golden Ninja
very
Video.
Cool.
Yo,
nice.
That's really cool,
awesome. Right on. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. Jonathan, do you have anything you'd like to share with our dear, sweet, lovely imaginary audience this week?
I'm not as prepared as Mickey tonight.
No.
Man, what?
You don't have to. It's really no pressure. No frills.
Well, you know what? I guess I'm just gonna shout out the Hollywood Bowl. I thought that was a really cool show that I went to, and if you're in the LA area and you are able to book some tickets, go to the Hollywood Bowl. I think it's a really cool place. It's historical. The Beatles have played there. Tons of bands have played there. They always have the orchestra that accompanies all the groups there. You can bring your own food and beer and have a little picnic before. It's a whole thing, man. And there's no bad seat at the Hollywood Bowl. I'm actually really excited to see the rest of their calendar because they usually have sometimes it's usually music performances, but they also have movies and the orchestra accompanied with the orchestra. So my friend Maddie, he did a few years ago, he did like the Back to the Future, where they had like Alan Silvestri and the orchestra, Hollywood Orchestra, and him conducting it, and they played the Back to the Future movie and some of the scenes and everything. I really want to try one. I've never been to. I've heard about those experiences. Like I think they like Game of Thrones. They had like one for Game of Thrones. I've always wanted to do one of those. So I think that's kind of the next thing I want to look at is like if they're doing one of those kind of movie related with the soundtrack and the orchestra, and sometimes you get maybe someone like John Williams, like the actual conductors and people who compose the music to be there. So yeah, I'm all about like live music right now. I'm so excited to like get back into it. So
very cool,
but safely, right? So yeah, that's my share.
Joey,
how about you, man?
I just finished my first watch through of The Sopranos, and I loved it. I'm excited to dive back in now, having seen it, having not tempered expectations, but for 25 years I've heard about this show, and now I know what it is, and I can go back and really kind of pay attention. And my goal was to finish the series before the movie comes out, which I achieved. I'm very excited about that. And if you haven't seen it yet, I can't recommend it highly enough. It was incredible.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, my brother and our good buddy Andrew have been telling me, they started a group chat. Are you watching Sopranos yet? Are you watching Sopranos yet? So today I was able to be like, it's done. And felt good.
I think it's like, I don't even like, no hyperbole, I really do think it's the best mafia thing ever. Like, and I know that's saying a lot. I know that really is saying a lot, but
it's up there.
It's really, really good. They had time that you don't have in a 2-hour movie, but
Goodfellas achieves a lot, in terms of like looking at the everyday life of a street level gangster. But this really does, like you said, takes its time, and you're able to see, oh, that's how everything connects and works. And I feel like I have a much better understanding of how everything kind of ties together in this world, and how it's so hard to escape it, or it's fascinating. It's really incredible. The Godfather is such a romanticized version of all that. It's so far removed.
I always feel like a bad Italian American, but I don't really like The Godfather very much.
Really? I love the first two. I think the first two have some like the best acting in any movie. Pacino and Diane Keaton are just, they have this one scene in number 2 that I'm just like, holy shit.
They're very good actors, but I don't know, something about it is just like, I just never cared as much as I felt like I should, because it's very culturally ingrained in like, we're like with like Italian Americans. It's like, The Godfather.
It really and I watch it and I feel different after, you know what I mean? And honestly, I've been feeling a little different after The Sopranos. I've been dropping my G's, and just instead of talking about my girlfriend, I'm talking about my guma. Yeah, and
some gabagool.
God. But yeah, I'm entrenched in that world. Like, I've been knocking out like a season a day, especially on the weekends.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I'm having dreams about it and waking up to it, and it's like, well, I just got to get back. And I'm free now. I'm so thankful that it's like over, but I didn't want it to end at the same time.
Like are you having Tony Soprano-esque dream sequences?
Yeah, where I'm I'm not in the mob anymore. Like, they're like, oh, you're Kevin Federer, and I'm like, no, that's not me, but it says that on my card. And I'm like,
Sean, you probably don't know what we're talking about. There are a couple episodes where Tony has very in-depth dream sequences.
Oh, cool. Okay.
The dream
okay.
sequences are very well done in the show. Like the way they achieve kind of like dream logic, or like the fish, he's walking by a fish stand and the fish will start talking or something, just things that don't make sense, that maybe if you're awake in conscience you wouldn't think about to write down. Somehow they're able to really capture the feeling of a dream in the show, that I thought was really, really good. Yeah, but they look at everything. They look at drug use and the prostitution, and like all of it really kind of gets highlighted. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. And also just
There you go.
the toll it takes on you as a person.
Truth.
Yeah.
And the toll it takes on the viewer.
And the viewer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Honestly. And last, just quick shout out. We had a meeting of the minds on Thursday. We're going to release a single or 2-song EP on October 22nd. Blind Issues is back, so be on the lookout for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very fun stuff. So yeah, that's it from me.
Woo.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nick, where can we find you on the internet, my friend?
You can find me at the3friends.com. That's TheThrefriends, the3friends.com. And I also want to give a quick shout out to my co-host on that show. Listen to his band St. Francis and the Wolf.
Yes. Big St. Francis and the Wolf fans. What's
I didn't even say
St.
what my
Francis
show
and the
is.
Wolf?
We just talk about movies.
Yeah. Real quick, what's your favorite St. Francis song?
Super Toy.
Me too.
That's the best. I love that
It's
song.
a perfect song.
Yeah.
It
really is. It's so good.
Yeah.
I always say that, he's my best friend, so I would say it was good no matter what. But like, I'm really, really glad to know that, like, no, I genuinely like the album. I listened to it. I would listen to it even if I didn't know him. So
yeah. No, it's on steady rotation.
Yeah.
It's a very good album.
And I'm glad they're playing. They're playing a lot of gigs, those guys.
They are. Yeah.
And I love seeing them live. We've played, obviously a few gigs with them, but they're always such a treat to see. So
yeah.
Absolutely. Jonathan, where can we find you on the internet this week?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Sean Day Music, and my website, I kind of struggled with that for a sec, and my website at SeanDayMusic.net. Oh my god.
Net. Oh my god.
SeanDayMusic.net. Yes. Joey, where can we find you on the internet?
You can check me out on my website, joeyprati.com, and on... Oh, I usually do it the other way around. I've messed up my rhythm. Hold on. Ready?
I'll screw the flow.
Action. It's okay. You can check me out on Instagram and Twitter at joeyprati, and on my website, joeyprati.com. You can check out the show at Top 5 Pod. That's TOP5EE5POD on Instagram, on Twitter at gmail.com, on Facebook at Top 5 Podcast. We're on Apple Music, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, Anchor, all the good stuff, and YouTube if you want to watch our lovely mugs. So please give us a like, give us a follow, give us Jesus Christ. I haven't had any. This is water.
I know.
This is what's his name? Billy Bats.
Oh hell yeah.
Get your fucking shine box. Give us a like, give us a listen, give us a follow, give us your love, and Jonathan, we will give you
all our loving in return. Little Beatles in there.
All our loving. Until next time, I'm Joey Prati.
I'm Sean Day.
I'm Mickey Checky.
Thanks
for
listening. Ooh, we've never done it 3 ways before.